Okay, Ash? Okay. Just to let everybody know out there, we had a bit of recording problems. So we're going to start again from the top and go through zoning amendment 02-2024, Sunville, Jackson Street East area. So we're going to declare this public meeting open on this zoning amendment. And Ashley, if you can give the participation instructions.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Eccles. Before I begin, at any point, if you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter the ID for this meeting, which is 891-5626-2480. Both member of council and staff have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software and will be raising their hand physically to speak. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance, please send a chat message to myself, Ashley Noble, Communications Coordinator, and I will attempt to assist you. It should be noted for the members of the public that this meeting is taking place across 2 meeting platforms, both on Zoom as well as being live streamed on YouTube. Public participation, if any, must be done through Zoom and cannot be done through YouTube at this time.
Thank you, Ashley. I have a couple of announcements to make here. From the chair, I would like to remind everyone that the purpose of this public meeting is to receive input from the public. Every person who attends a statutory public meeting required under the Planning Act shall be given an opportunity to make representation in respect of the proposed bylaw. All submission materials for this application are available at the West Grey Municipal Office during regular business hours. If a person or public body would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of the municipality of West Grey to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the municipality of West Grey before the zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the municipality of West Grey before the zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. And with that, further, we have some statutory announcements from the clerk. Jamie.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Notice of this public meeting was circulated to the prescribed bodies, posted on the subject property, and mailed to all properties within 120 meters of the subject property on February 29, 2024. Anyone wishing to provide verbal comments at this public meeting is asked to sign the sign-in sheet located on the speaker's table. The personal information collected at this public meeting is collected under the authority of the Planning Act. The information collected will be used to complete the zoning bylaw amendment process and will form part of the public record. Questions about this collection should be addressed to me, the Director of Legislative Services / Clerk. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Corporation of the Municipality of West Grey and the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the Municipality of West Grey, care of the Director of Legislative Services / Clerk.
Thank you, Clerk Eckensweiler. Presentation from the Manager of Planning, Mr. Smith. David.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll ask you to bring up the report, the presentation on the screen. And I'll ask you to go down 2 slides, please. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Council, ZA 2024 Welton, the Sunville subdivision. Shown up on the screen is a location picture of the general location of Sunville itself, the northeast corner of the town of Durham, or Durham itself. Not all of the lots that currently exist are shown on this particular plan. This is a area of a draft plan of subdivision that has been final approved in parts over the last number of years. the applicant Sunvale is bringing forward their application for final approval for the last stage of this subdivision. And it's noted in the conditions of draft approval as approved by the County of Gray that a zoning amendment is required to recognize some restrictions on an existing significant woodlands part of the property. And I'll ask us to go down one more slide, please. Sorry, maybe we'll keep on going down the area. I'll stop here, please. You'll notice in this particular slide in the upper right-hand corner, so what you're seeing in blue is the entire property. In the upper right-hand corner is the woodlot that comes across the property line. That woodlot was evaluated during the initial subdivision approval process through an environmental impact study. And that environmental impact study recommended that that chunk of woodland not be built on. They could be included in the lotting fabric, but it should not be built on with houses or accessory structures or so on and so forth. That zoning has not come forward, and that's what the proposal is for this public meeting and would be going forward. The zoning would be changed in this particular corner from R2 383, which is residential exception, to an R2 505. And we'll go down to the last slide, which shows a draft zoning bylaw schedule. So if you notice in the large property in the upper right-hand corner of the diagram to the bottom is the R2 505 as proposed for draft. That boundary follows the environmental impact study boundary recommendations, and that particular part of the property or the new lots would not be able to be built on, in accordance with the new exception if it went forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Overview from the applicant or agent. Do we have the applicant online or an agent for the applicant?
Good afternoon.
There we are.
Good afternoon. It's Christine Loft. Thank you, Your Worship. To council, I do have a very brief PowerPoint. Next slide, please. Thank you. So Mr. Smith has provided an overview. This is the Sunvale Homes development located northeast of the intersection of Durham Road East and Highway 6. The property has a lot area of 5.6 hectares, and the subject lands are the remainder of the lands associated with the overall Sunvale Homes residential development. And as David has indicated, this is the last phase of the project. The lands are serviced with municipal services. And there are internal roads existing accesses via Jackson Street and Shady Hill Road. Next slide. Just some recent photos just showing that there are site works underway. Next slide. And so this is the proposed zoning schedule that my office prepared. So the woodland area is shown in the hatched area. We have maintained the R2 zone with a site-specific exception, and then that exception would limit that there be no site works within that hatched area. Next slide. So this was just taken from the environmental impact study, and I think in the top right corner then you can see the woodland area, and so the woodland area would be within the exception, and then there is a 15-meter buffer to that woodland area where there could be site works, however, no buildings or foundations. And so that language will be embedded in the draft bylaw. Okay, next slide. And this is just the Van Harten draft approval. So in red is the further phase that we're looking for final registration on. And I've just overlaid the hatched area. I have confirmed with Sunvale that they do have models that will be available to sell on these lots and maintain the woodland intact as per this proposed bylaw. Next slide. Okay, thank you. That was my final slide. Those are my comments, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to respond. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Loft. Any questions? This time, it's kind of straightforward. Great work on that, Christine. Is there any comments from the public? No. I don't believe we have any public comments for or against at this point in time. Nobody else online? Check once more, Ashley. No? Very good. All right. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for coming in and giving us that overview, Ms. Loft. And with that, I'll declare the public meeting for zoning amendment 02-2024 Sunvale Jackson Street closed. All right. Now, do we need to go to a different one? Are we okay on this? We're good? Close this one at 2:29. And we'll open public meeting for zoning amendment 03-2024 4701 Gray Road 4 at 2:29. Okay. Ashley, do you want to give us the participation instructions? You're soon going to have it memorized.
As noted at the opening of the meeting, public participation must be done through Zoom. Members of the public joining virtually wishing to participate in this portion of the meeting may do so in one of two ways. If you have joined via phone, press *9 to raise your hand. This will let us know that you would like to speak. Alternatively, *9 can also be used to lower your hand. If you have joined virtually, you can either raise your hand by clicking either the blue or yellow hand icon located in the bottom corner of your screen, or by sending a chat message to myself, Ashley Noble, Communications Coordinator, either stating that you would like to speak or what you would like read into the record on your behalf.
Thank you very much, Ashley. So I have some statutory announcements to make. I would like to remind everyone that the purpose of this public meeting is to receive input from the public. Every person who attends a statutory public meeting required under the Planning Act shall be given an opportunity to make representation in respect of the proposed bylaw. All submission materials for this application are available at the West Grey Municipal Office during regular business hours. If a person or public body would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of the municipality of West Grey to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the municipality of West Grey before the zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the municipality of West Grey before the zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. With that, Mr. Clerk, Mr. Eckensweiler, you have some comments to make.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Notice of this public meeting was circulated to the prescribed bodies, posted on the subject property, and mailed to all properties within 120 meters of the subject property on February 29, 2024. Anyone wishing to provide verbal comments at this public meeting is asked to sign the sign-in sheet located on the speaker's table. The personal information collected at this public meeting is collected under the authority of the Planning Act. The information collected will be used to complete the zoning bylaw amendment process and will form part of the public record. Questions about this collection should be addressed to me, the Director of Legislative Services / Clerk. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Corporation of the Municipality of West Grey on the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the Municipality of West Grey, care of the Director of Legislative Services / Clerk.
Thank you, Jamie. And I'm going to turn it over to the Manager of Planning and Development, Mr. Smith. David, an overview of the application, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll bring up the presentation on the screen. We'll go down 2 slides, please. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Council File ZA 03-2024 for Roberts, location 404701 Gray Road 4 in Priceville. As we know, Priceville is split between two municipalities. On the west side is the municipality of West Gray, and in particular, this particular large piece of property in blue. For your information, Priceville decades ago, probably over 100 years ago, was surveyed into a town plot with a number of small lots with the anticipation that it would grow into a village, hamlet, or whatever it is. And over the years, of course, it's not happened, as we can see. And we're left with a number of small legacy lots in Priceville, and also left with Priceville actually at the moment as a settlement area within the Great Plan and within West Gray itself. In this particular case, the applicants are looking to sever the property. That severance, that consent application was brought forward to Committee of Adjustment through File B03-2024, which was heard earlier this month. As part of the conditions of the consent is a requirement for a rezoning in order to recognize a change from an A3 rural zone to an R1A unserviced residential zone, and a slight revision to a natural environment zone on the property also. As you can see from the air photo, on the east side of the property is a fairly large woodlot that is recognized as significant woodlands. The application itself for the consent is basically the bare area you see on the west side of it, and that's what you reviewed as a Committee of Adjustment a number of weeks ago. There is no development proposed in the natural environment area. All of it will be within the either the existing building that's currently on the one portion of the property, or in the zone on the other side where there is no significant woodlands within that. There is a slight change to the woodlands natural environment boundary so that our zoning bylaw, the West Gray zoning bylaw, matches the boundaries as proposed by not proposed by, but as they exist within the County of Gray official plan. And that's shown, if we go down one more slide, you can see in here the settlement area boundary, the green being the significant woodlands and natural environment. One more, please. And the same overlaid one and the last one, please. The proposed zoning, you see, we keep pretty much all the green. The green, again, matches now the county official plan, and the remainder of the property that's available for residential development within the settlement area is proposed for the R1A special zone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. At this time, I'll open it up for comments from the applicant and or agent.
Good afternoon.
There we are. Ms. Loft.
Thank
Christine.
you. Christine Loft on behalf of the landowners, Roberts. So thank you for the PowerPoint. I actually, yes, thank you. Next slide, please. So the property is 404701 Gray Road 4. The property is approximately 5 hectares in size with 192 meters onto Gray Road 4. The lands are partially regulated by the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority. Next slide. So as Mr. Smith identified, consent was approved on March 5th, 2024, which proposed a severed lot as well as an easement over the existing laneway. And a condition of that consent is the zoning bylaw amendment before you. And it's just the proposed amendment. Thank you. Next slide. So just the proposed amendment, and as Mr. Smith indicated, the natural environment zone is to remain, which identifies the woodlands area. Next slide. So the proposed amendment will recognize a reduction in lot frontage, 122 meters required and 64 meters provided for the severed, and then exceptions on the minimum lot area of 40 hectares to the 1.4 and 3.6 hectares for the retained parcel. Next slide. The official plan, the lands are designated within the secondary settlement area as well as hazard lands, and the zoning bylaw zones the lands restricted rural A3 and the natural environment zone. And last slide, I believe. And just some photos in each direction, both east and west on Gray Road 4. And those are my comments. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any of the members have any questions for the applicant? Go ahead. Dave.
Maybe I'd like to clarify something that my apologies to Loft Planning. The original application did recommend or did suggest an A2 zone, A3 zone. The properties are currently zoned A3. The proposal that's in the public meeting notice is a change to an R1A, not to a change to an R3. The reason why I'm recommending the R1A is that it's within the settlement area. So we're using a settlement area zoning, R1A. We would use the A3 and the A2 and the A1 outside of the settlement areas. So in many respects, it's within the settlement area. It's ready, it's available for residential development because it's within the settlement area. We use the R1A. It actually requires fewer amendments because we don't have a lot area problem because the R1A lot areas are far smaller. So my apologies to Loft, but the proposal is exactly the same at the end of what it's going to achieve. All we're doing is using a residential zoning in that regard as opposed to agricultural.
Everybody's okay with that? We understand that? Very good. You're okay, or that's been fine with you, Ms. Loft?
Yes, thank you, through the chair to Director Smith. Yes, that's fine. Achieves the same outcome. I agree. Thank you.
Very good. Part of our strategic plan is to reduce red tape, and anything we can do to do that is wonderful. Thanks, David. Okay, any other comments or questions? Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
I'd just like to say I'm glad that we're getting to the end of this process, and hopefully I know the applicant's anxious to start building a house on the severed property. So they look forward to seeing that happen. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to ask this question. And with the new build houses faster, some of the new legislation, would it be possible to build 2 houses on each of those retained, or of the retained parcel and the severed parcel with the way the new legislation is written?
The new legislation speaks specifically to fully serviced urban areas in terms of intensification. That's not to say that properties aren't big enough at times when we have full private services for something secondary, but provincial legislation went on its original discussion to allowing a whole bunch of houses everywhere. And then somebody said, whoa, wait a minute here. So the legislation in the Planning Act now says that thou shalt allow 2 and 3rd houses on areas within fully serviced areas. And of course, Priceville is not, but it doesn't negate the possibility for things like accessory apartments when the property is evaluated to be sufficiently large enough for well and septic and things like that, but it's not an automatic.
Okay. And I'm not surmising that there's any thought from the applicant of doing that at this point in time or anything, but it was just with some of that application, and that's what tweaked it to my mindset here. Okay. Any comments from the public? No? And if there's no more questions, I'm going to declare the public meeting closed at 2:42. Very good. I believe that's all the business that we have today on the agenda. Right on that, Mr. Clerk. Very good. Then we'll declare the public meeting